How's it growing? Community gardens. We sure love our community gardens here in South Florida. And in this episode, Cynthia Schaefer talks to a group in Coconut Creek that is starting a new one. Let's get right to it.
I'm Cynthia Schaefer, founder of the South Florida Edible Gardening and Sustainability Meetup and co-founder of the Caring Community. And you guys are awesome because you're starting a community garden. And when you do a community garden, you're planting so much more than just plants. You're creating community. And I find it interesting the way plants in a healthy community and people in a healthy community really require a lot of the same elements to thrive. So take a look at the ferns here. The ferns are thriving because they are in their ideal environment. They're in the shade, which they like. But they're also serving their community because they are helping with soil erosion to hold the soil in, and they're also shading the ground to keep the soil moist. In people community and in plant community, communication is vitally important. And the way plants communicate is through the Mycorrhizal Network. And the Mycorrhizal Network is fascinating because it's an intelligent network of fungi, and the network can create not only information sharing, but it can send nutrients and water through the network. Communication in plants is vitally important. There's also old growth trees. Now, old growth trees and trees in general are really important in the plant community because they are the longer living plants. They are the ones that have the longer history of information. So if you look at humans, right, don't we rely on the experience and the wisdom of people that have been pillars in their community or experts in an area? For example, you guys met Judy Golko, and Judy Golko is a great example of someone who has all this wisdom and experience, and she shares it freely. And I am not calling Judy Golko old. I want to be clear on that. But the trees are very, very important in the ecosystem. Plants also communicate above ground. Let's say you've got an aphid infestation going on in your front yard. That plant that is infested is going to start sending out chemical signals. Those signals are going to call in the ladybugs to eat the aphids, and it's also a call across the garden in general, letting the other plants in the garden know, the aphids are coming, the aphids are coming. So they can also prepare and put up their chemical signals. And don't our teachers in our community kind of serve the same purpose? So if you look at Tree Amigos in Davie is a plant nursery, organic plant nursery, and they do phenomenal jobs of sharing the information and making sure everyone knows how to deal with whatever the current conditions are in South Florida. But in the end, it's all about the soil. And in the beginning, it's all about the soil. The soil is what makes everything possible. It's the foundation. And if you look at all of the volunteers across our community, the people like Amy here who comes and does presentation, people like Scott who creates a food bank garden in his front yard, those are our soil builders, the people that are creating this healthy foundation for all of our communities to thrive. So when you build soil, like you do in a garden, or you build community by having volunteers, you're creating a space not only for those beautiful plants to come in, but those beautiful plants will bring in those beautiful insects. And for the record, there is no such thing as a bad insect. There's no friend or foe here. There's no good or bad. They are all magnificent. And then all this life brings in the people who get the ability to enjoy the volunteering in the garden that healthy time in the soil with all those good microbes. And then it also brings in the people that may not have the ability to volunteer in the garden, but still can enjoy the beauty. I like to think of our meetup group and Facebook page as our form of Mycorrhizal Network. We create not only the sharing of information, but of resources, and there's plant swaps and all sorts of wonderful things going on because these people came together, communicated, and worked for the highest good of the system instead of just being individuals. So from that, we have created a nonprofit called the Caring Community. And the Caring Community, basically, we look to do good wherever we can. In the forest, if a seedling is getting too much shade, the Mycorrhizal Network, the system, and the plants nearby might decide to give extra nutrients to that plant until it can grow tall enough to become its own plant and get its own sunlight and nutrients. And the Caring Community, we like to think of us as helping little trees, little people become strong enough to create their own healthy ecosystem. We have been around for a few years. There's a couple initiatives that have been around the longest. So this is Gleaning for Good. We've been doing this for 3 years, and basically what we do is people volunteer to give us the fruit from their fruit trees that is excess. And then we take that fruit we have volunteers go pick the tree, and we take that fruit to a food bank. And in 2020, so proud of this number, in 2020, we did almost 15,000 pounds of backyard fruit to food banks. We partner with Society of St. Andrews, which has been doing gleaning for decades. And they have a wonderful coordinator named Katie Kane here in South Florida. We have a Facebook page for that, so you can go to that Facebook page or the Caring Community Facebook page. If you know anyone that has backyard fruit that they want to donate, we would love to do that. They get a tax receipt, and we all feel better about ourselves. We also have a food bank garden at Miranda Farms, and the food bank garden is in its second full season. And we got probably about 250, 300 pounds of food out of that last year that we grew for food banks. And this year we hope to do even more because the banana circle is really popping. And we also are putting in potato towers. So that'll give us lots of calories there for the food banks. We also have the Davie Community Garden, which we just started, but it also has a food forest, a banana circle, and a beautiful butterfly garden, Davie. And that also is producing food for the food banks. And it also is a place where once we get past all this COVID stuff, we will be doing a lot of educational outreach. So we're really excited about that. We also have a community cookbook that we're working on because there are foods that are really prolific growers here in South Florida. Sweet potato leaves, cassava leaves, green papaya, chaya, katuk. All these foods grow really well in the summer, but most people aren't familiar with them. So we'll be able to drop off a single sheet that has cooking instructions with each plant. And that way they can give it to the recipients and we can get even more quality food going. We're working on a few other things. We put in our first garden about a month ago for a Habitat for Humanity person. And we're looking at putting at least 4 more of those in. And Scott Holtzman has been a really great supporter of that project. He does all of our wood. There is so much good to be done in the community. And our volunteers are amazing. Everything we do is 100% volunteer-based. And the volunteers are what builds the soil of our community that makes us all stronger. So you guys are not just starting a garden. You are starting an adventure that makes you the change makers that will make a difference in your community in ways that you can't even imagine right now. And I applaud you for that.
Thank you, Cynthia. I really like how she showed how just as people have different aspects of community, so do plants. Hey, if you got something out of this video, do me a huge favor. Click like on the video, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so that you'll be notified when I upload videos in the future, and let's grow together.